Greetings and welcome. Now today this is going to kind of be like a part 2 to my video that I released on Friday, which was entitled "Why are working class voters moving away from left-wing politics?" And I want to be a little bit more positive in this video, and I want to acknowledge, I know a lot of people have been getting a bit frustrated with some of my recent videos. It shows in the amount of people unsubscribing from the channel. A lot of people feel that I've been sort of bashing the left quite a lot over the last few videos, and it generally really isn't my intention to do that. My whole intention over these last few videos is just to highlight what's going on, what is actually going on out there. Why did 4 million people vote for a Reform Party in the last election? Why have we just seen over the last sort of 10-15 years this descent from your average working class voter to more right-wing politics? Because I think it's important to highlight these things. It's important to get in the mindset of your average working class reform voter. If we're going to buck this trend, if we're going to try and convince people of more left-wing politics, we need to understand what's going on. We need to understand the life experiences of your average working class reform voter. What are they going through? What are the problems that they're dealing with? And why we got to this point where so many people started moving towards the likes of Nigel Farage and more right-wing politics. Now, I said this video is going to be a bit more positive, and it should be, because I think there's some exciting things coming. I love what Zach Polanski is doing with the Green Party. He seems to be taking a lot of these messages that I'm talking about on board and doing really exciting things. I think we also have the advantage of looking towards America, that are a few years ahead of us, and seeing the shit show that's going over there and not want that happening over here. I hear this thrown out a lot, Reform have got the next election sewn up, they're going to win. The next election is 4 years away. I mean, they say a week is a long time in politics, let alone 4 years. A lot can happen in 4 years. And I think there's some exciting things on the left of politics that can happen. I think we're engaging more young people into politics. I think the likes of Zach Polanski are doing a great job of that. There's some exciting things to do, and we can all play our part. This is why, I make these videos to my own detriment sometimes, with the amount of people that get angry with me and unsubscribe from my channel. I could carry on just doing Nigel Farage bashing videos, which I love doing, which always get good views. But I just think these sort of videos where we actually analyse some of the mistakes that we make on the left of politics, analyse why sometimes we push people away from the left in politics, are important. They're important conversations to have. So how do we get more working class folks on board with left-wing politics, which was always their traditional home? This is the madness of it. And left-wing politics represent more working class issues, more available council housing, better health service, better public services, all the things that we need. How do we get people back? And I say we can all play our part in this, politicians, content creators, but you guys listening as well, you guys watching at home that spend a lot of time online, because let's get real, man, this is where the sort of political discourse is in the modern age, and everyone's talking online about politics. I've often said we'd go a long way to solving these problems if everyone just stopped obsessing about politics so much. I think we'd have a lot more level-headed views if we didn't just engage in politics 24/7. But this is the modern world. This is what we live in. I don't think you're going to change that anytime soon. But I feel we can all play our part. And the first point that I want to raise to try and bring back people to the left is basically the topic that I was talking about in my last video. Just stop insulting people. I won't get too much into it because I discussed it at length on my last video, but it's hard. I get it. If you're talking to someone that you vastly disagree with on politics, you get yourself angry and then you end up insulting them or mocking them, or even just giving a very, very sarcastic tone. It gives you instant gratification, doesn't it? If you get so angry with what they're talking about and then you just insult them and you instantly get that gratification. But that's all it is, man. Just instant gratification. If your ultimate goal is to change their opinions and make them think differently, you're not going to do it by insulting them. And actually, Instead of that instant gratification, I think you'd get a lot more longer term gratification if you took the moral high ground and didn't stoop to that level. You may be getting insults at you, but take the moral high ground. And I'm not saying don't discuss your politics. Discuss your politics, but just avoid the sarcastic tone, the mocking, the insults, especially you're stupid, uneducated, you can't even spell. Those sort of insults are not going to change anyone's opinion. They're just going to push people further towards the arms of Nigel Farage. And I think if we all do that as a collective, it's a hard thing to do. I don't think it's possible, but if a large portion of us stop doing that rubbish, it will go a long way to helping. And gladly, I'm seeing that I think the likes of Zach Polanski are avoiding that sort of thing. Which I'm really grateful to him for. I think he's doing a good job in that area. And you just have to understand that we all come from different life experiences, man. These working class reform voters are dealing with their own shit. They're dealing with their own problems, their own life experiences. And you know what? It just so happened that they went down the route of Nigel Farage and anti-immigration. But, you know, until you've lived their life, until you've walked a day in their shoes, you can't judge them, man. And as we all know, the only time you truly walk in another man's shoes is when you go bowling. I'm sorry, that's a terrible joke. But the same on the other side as well. I said this in my previous video. We both need to take on board this. Your reform voters need to understand that they haven't had the life experiences that we've all had. We're all dealing with our own issues, man. We're all messed up in our own way. We're all dealing with our own stresses, and we've all sort of taken different routes in life politically. And we need to understand that and be more compassionate about it. So that would be the main point, just more compassion. And I think secondly, just, you know, if you're leaving the insults and the sarcasm alone, just concentrate on policy. If you get the chance to talk to people that you disagree with, reform voters, stick to policy. Don't get bogged down in arguments about race and all this sort of stuff. And just stick to the key points and go back to the fundamentals. The fundamentals the reasons why working class people used to vote left wing. Because predominantly they have their interests at heart. You know, what are your problems? If you're a working class reform voter, what are you dealing with? Are you dealing with high rents? Are you dealing with long waiting lists for the NHS? Are you dealing with high utility bills? Is Nigel Farage going to help you with those things? Really? Or is he going to make it worse? I mean, he's basically the Tories from the 80s, which the working class generally despised for all those reasons. They sold off the family silver. They sold off all our utilities that we used to own, our railways that used to be nationalised. They sold them all off. And that's exactly what Nigel Farage will do. And he will do that with the NHS. Is that going to make your life better? Is he going to bring you more affordable housing? You know, currently we have this choice between paying half our paycheck to a private landlord or scraping and saving and not socialising, not doing anything that we want and saving every single penny to maybe be able to afford to put down a deposit on a house. Those are the two choices we have. But we used to have a third choice, which was affordable council housing. And not just available for those most in need. I mean, obviously they should be at the top of the list, but it used to be available to everyone. Affordable council housing used to be available to everyone. Is Nigel Farage going to give you that? Richard Tice, the multi-millionaire property developer, is he going to give you that third option, or is he going to put more housing in the hands of the private sector? He won't make your life any better. And ironically, well, not ironically, because this is traditionally what it always was. The left have more answers to those problems. They want to invest more in social housing. They want affordable housing for not just the people most in need, but for everyone. They want to renationalise utilities. They want to invest more in a national health service. If we concentrate on the policies and the economics, stop insulting people, I think we can go a long way to winning back those working class votes. And luckily, like I say, I think Zach Polanski of the Greens is doing those two things. He does seem to be focusing on policy rather than immigration. Anyway, folks, if you enjoyed the video, if you took some value from the video, I really appreciate it if you click a like. I think these conversations are important, and I think we should try our best to push them out to as many people as possible. And if you disagree with what I'm saying, that's fine. It's totally fine. Just don't be a dick about it. Don't leave me sarcastic, narky comments. Just be a grown-up and actually have a proper adult discussion about it. Anyway, till next time, take care.